Welcome to Building People, Companies, and Careers, brought to you by AccruePartners. I'm Amy Pack.
And I'm Patty Comer. We're your host on this journey through the vibrant business landscape in the Queen City.
This podcast is an extension of our mission statement at AccruePartners, where we have spent over 20 years fostering connections and building relationships.
Whether you're a client, candidate, or business influencer in Charlotte, this podcast is for you.
We are immensely grateful for your support throughout our journey, and now through this podcast, we're excited to share the stories that have defined our path.
So let's dive in.
Let's do it. Welcome back to Building People, Companies, and Careers. I'm your host, Amy Pack. At AccruePartners, we are passionate about bringing together candidates, clients, consultants, and thought leaders in the Charlotte community, Carolinas, and beyond. Today, I'm excited to have with me AJ Jobe. AJ, we're glad to have you here and excited to hear about your perspective on technology leadership and how it's evolving, particularly how leaders are building strong organizations, developing talent, and aligning the digital strategy with broader business outcomes in what is now an increasingly AI-driven world. So AJ, welcome to the show.
Thank you. It's great to be here. Thanks for having me.
Yes. So I always like to start out with, tell me a little bit about yourself, the typical interview question.
Okay. AJ Jobe, Chief Digital Officer, as you mentioned, working for a local family-ran company called Wizziger. We are a company of companies. We own a couple of different divisions that brands that you may have heard of in the Carolinas, Carolina Caterpillar, LiftOne Material Handling, Blue Sky Automation. Been with the company for 8.5 years, and I am the Chief Digital Officer supporting LiftOne right now. But prior to that, I started in the healthcare industry here at a local company in Charlotte, Carolinas Healthcare. I was a developer, and I quickly kind of moved into more of the project management side of things and went and did some of my own freelancing consulting. Ended up at Progress Energy in the utility space for a while, moved to Florida for them, and then came back to help Belk for about 9 years
Mm-hmm.
through a major digital transformation that they were running. And then when Belk sold to private equity, I ended up working for another local family, the Whizzikers.
Yeah. So family businesses, two back to back.
That's right.
Certainly have the experience there. So I forgot about your journey earlier on in healthcare and
hmm
Progress Energy. I don't think I realized you were a consultant for some time. You've seen lots of different industries, I would
Yeah.
say. But when you look back on that, what were some defining moments that shaped the path um, and brought you to where you are today?
Yeah, when I look back, defining moments in my career really started at Carolinas Healthcare. I was a developer. I was working on, I'm going to date myself, but a system for HR called PeopleSoft,
Yeah.
and also their financials. And one of the things that I really felt like was I was disconnected on that team with the why and why we
Hmm.
were developing and why we were doing some of the major projects. And I didn't understand the business drivers or the strategic impact. And so that was a real kind of career turning point for me. So I actually saw how much opportunity there was to bring leadership, process, and discipline into that work. So that actually drove me to, instead of just living with it, to do something about it.
Hmm.
So I eventually, through that desire and that kind of gap in my expectations, ended up running some of the projects. And that's how I got into project management and leadership. And that's how I got interested in IT management, if you will,
Hmm.
and ultimately ended up going back to business school.
Okay.
Yeah.
So you did that after Carolina's healthcare during?
I did. I tried to make it work in Charlotte, and I ended up selecting NC State. They had a service management and technology
Nice.
MBA, so that's what I wanted to do, and that was the career I wanted to go down. And so that's why I did freelance for a while, so I
Yeah.
could get to Raleigh.
So I'm learning more about you today in itself. So as your career progressed, how did your leadership philosophy evolve?
Leadership philosophy. I would say as my career progressed, it really matured around a few core beliefs. The first is I've definitely learned to lead humbly. I do believe the best outcomes are from empowering people, not positioning yourself above them. I would say, secondly, I am relentlessly focused on outcomes.
Mhm.
And I learned that from probably some of my mentors in my career. Effort matters, but impact matters more. And that means, in my opinion, and this is kind of my core belief in technology and how technology teams should be built and organized, is you have to be close to the business because
Mhm.
to understand what your impacts are, you have to understand what the strategy of the business is. And then I would say finally, I'm a firm believer that IT can and should be a value driver, not just a support function.
Well, and it has moved over the years from a support function to a value driver, in the fast changing world that we're in today. So that leads us directly to the next question. Technology has moved from the support function to the driver of the business. From your perspective as an IT leader, how has the role of technology leadership evolved over the last several years?
Yeah, I think you just touched on it. I mean, I think it's essentially moved from running systems to actively driving business outcomes, right? So, reliability, security, and delivery. I think all those things still matter a ton. But I think that those are the baselines and the
Hmm.
table stakes today.
When you think back, was there a defining moment that you saw that shift happen?
I've always felt that way. I've
Hmm.
always felt like IT needs to be at the core of the business, and I've always struggled a little bit with the central approach to that a lot of organizations take with technology. I do think that there's efficiencies and scalability with that approach, but I think what you lose is you lose that connectivity with the why, which was one of the early learnings that I had at
Hmm.
Carolinas. So for me, I think it's evolving more as technology becomes more prevalent in the business with tools
Hmm.
and technologies such as data and Power BI and reporting. And now that evolution has kind of moved into the AI world. So naturally, technology is getting a broader seat at the table.
Hmm.
But I've always kind of had that core belief.
Okay, great. So, one of the themes of the podcast is how great companies are built through great people. From your perspective, what separates organizations that truly thrive from those struggling to sustain growth?
Yeah, I think great companies put people at the center of everything. That starts with humble leadership, leaders who are fair, consistent, and do what they say they're going to do. That's a core value. That's actually one of our core values that I love. And I think that trust compounds over time, and organizations that thrive are very intentional about earning that trust. I think another big separator is integrity for how decisions are made. Um, I think staying grounded in the facts, transparency, and measurability is important. I think when you clearly align your expectations with your teams will outperform even your expectations.
Hmm. Yeah. Well, create having clarity there is super important. So, talking a little bit about talent in technology. Talent is always on everybody's mind, and the landscape of talent is changing every day. But in the technology world, technology is changing quickly with AI,
hmm
data, automation, digital capabilities are changing the skill sets that all organizations need. When you're building a technology team today, what qualities or mindsets are most important for you for long-term success?
Yeah, it's funny because trying to find somebody that knows AI or ML very well these days, people have it on their resumes, but you're never 100%. It's just so new and it's changing so much. So, what I always look for is, I guess one of my beliefs is technology will keep changing, right? So the fundamentals of great people don't. So what I look
Hmm.
for is adaptability, integrity, and drive, and I think the rest of those paired with a strong foundation will come. Um, Integrity is a non-negotiable. I think high-performing teams are built on trust. I'm very protective of small teams, small team cultures. I do believe there's cultures within cultures,
Hmm.
and I think that that's critical when you're hiring somebody that you make sure that you have a cultural team fit with that adaptability, and then you can train them if they have a good core foundation.
Hmm. Yeah. Technology is changing fast. And like you said, you can't always find someone that has the exact technology platform
Backgrounds, yeah.
that or background that you need, but it is the adaptability and the
hmm
curiosity. And that goes within technology teams or other departments who are using technology platforms to perform their function.
hmm
And I think that's something everybody struggles with today is identifying that level of curiosity and adaptability,
Yeah,
playfulness.
Yeah, oftentimes, interviewing candidates, I will ask questions to try to get at the core of how they problem solve and how they think and how
Hmm.
they ingest information versus if they get the answer right.
Right, right. The big AI and future of work,
Mhm.
everything, every conversation, every article, everything is around AI, and it's obviously impacting how organizations operate. From your perspective as a technology leader, how do you see AI changing the way people work over the next 5 to 10 years? 10 years is probably a little too far. Let's just say 3 to 5.
Yeah, I would say it's gonna fundamentally change just even within a year, right? One, 5, 10, however we kinda do it, but, I think my point of view on it is, and I think a lot of people share this, code is gonna become commoditized.
Mm-hmm.
Coding is gonna become commoditized, and the real advantage is gonna be for those that understand the value chain, the end-to-end process that's closest to the business, and then the data behind that. I think that that will become the evolution of what the most important skill set is.
Yeah. So you and I were at a dinner the other night, and there was that interesting conversation. It was the AI thought
Mhm.
leadership dinner.
Right.
It was, is the human on the bot or around the
In the
bot,
loop or on the
or
loop.
in the loop or on the loop?
Yeah.
There you go. That was super fascinating.
Mhm.
And there was one company that had 65 agents.
Mhm.
And just hearing some of the stories as they were, I'm going to say, testing it in the challenges that they were having there. Some were comical. I know they probably didn't think they were funny at the time in the moment, but it was interesting to hear.
Yeah. Yeah, yeah. Getting an agent to production ready is definitely not something that happens overnight. I think you heard a lot of those folks in the room said getting the agent to 80% was super, super easy and super fast.
Hmm.
Getting from 80 to 100 in production ready took months.
Yeah. I don't know if you heard the story. The one guy said the agent was talking to their customer, but in the
Background,
background, someone was speaking another
Spanish.
language, Spanish, and
And
so the bot started
the
speaking
agent started
Spanish. Or the
speaking
agent, yeah,
Spanish. Yeah.
I thought that was
Yeah.
hilarious. Anyhow, in your perspective, what should business leaders be thinking about now to prepare their organizations for that shift?
I think the focus and the intent comes down to balancing innovation with responsible AI. So whether it's AI embedded in enterprise platforms, such as the applications that you use now, or you're looking at privately deploying models using secure tenants, I think that there's enough technology out there where the investment and the attention will continue to make real progress. I'm not as concerned about the security. I know
Hmm.
that's a huge kind of buzzword out there, but I think that there's enough investment and enough need that the security will get there and it will be there. I think the bigger risk is the value drift. So this comes down to how you train your models, right? How do you instill the specification and the intent and the values of the organization into the models that are essentially doing the business that the humans would be doing?
Hmm.
So how do you get them to act and think like the humans? I do think the value drift is probably the more risky piece.
So this article I was reading this morning talked about being AI literate isn't going to get a certification.
Correct.
And I think a lot of people perceive that. We all get these, 6 week class, remote class, 3 weeks, whatever, in your different feeds and emails. And it was talking about it's just using it in your everyday application.
Mhm.
And, I know at least at Accrue Partners, we're pushing people to be creative and put time, set aside some time just to play with it in your own work so you can identify how it can best help us internally to service our clients and candidates.
Yeah, I think you'll succeed when you're intentional about it.
Yeah.
Exactly what you're saying and clear about why you're using it,
Hmm.
not just to use it to say you have AI.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Hey, I have this new
Right.
AI certificate, and you put it on your LinkedIn
Right.
profile. That doesn't
Exactly.
not going to work. Um, so, with the rapid rise of AI, technology leaders are also facing new questions, as you were saying, governance, ethics, and responsibility. How should organizations think about balancing innovation with the implementation of AI? Did we already cover that? You just talked about that.
I think so.
Okay. Control Alt Delete. All right, so we'll move on to technology and the business strategy. One of the biggest shifts we've seen in technology moving closer to the center of the business strategy. From your perspective, how do you ensure that technology is just not supporting the business, but actively shaping the future direction of the organization?
Yeah, I think we started off. One of my core beliefs has always been the technology sits at the center of the business, and that belief goes all the way back to my early in my career. Actually, was the hospital here, and then my second job coming out of school. Technology is only successful as its understanding of the business and it's supporting it. So, in many cases. you have to lead that and not just be a support servant organization. I first focus on proximity to the business.
Mhm.
So technology leaders and teams need to have a deep embedded understanding of the strategy of the business and why their business model and the value drivers are organized the way they are, so that they understand the outcomes, because I think that those matter. If you don't understand how the business wins, you can't meaningfully influence it
Mhm.
from a technology perspective. I think I've mentioned this, but I've actually disagreed with many peers over my career around the role and the place of IT. I think centralized teams absolutely have their place. There are real efficiencies in shared platforms, standards, and capabilities. But organizations, I believe that intentionally align and organize technology closer to the business, those are the organizations that win.
Mhm. Yeah. So, looking back over your career, and you're obviously in the middle of a digital transformation at Wissaker, what would be some advice you might give other IT leaders from things that you've learned recently as you've gone through this transformation and then working with your teams and your leadership?
Yeah, that's a tough one. There's a lot. I would say if you're embracing digital transformation, the team matters. I mean, we talked a lot about people, right?
Mhm.
So I can't go into too much detail, but it's not always the biggest companies that can help you.
Mhm.
Sometimes it's more successful to go out and interview and hire your own team of specialists and manage them and kind of put it on your back
Mhm.
and drive the accountability your way, because you're going to end up doing it through your culture system, your value system. And I think that that ends up being a lot better recipe for success
Mhm. Versus outsourcing it
versus
potentially.
outsourcing the
Yeah.
entire program. A lot of these digital transformations, you'll get a lot of the big companies come in and they'll say they can take the whole thing,
Mhm.
and I think that they can. But what you get at the end of that may not be aligned with what you thought you were
And then you
getting,
gotta go back and
and then
redo
you
some of the work.
that's right.
Yeah, there's 2 schools of thoughts, but we often hear that when you get the work product back, whether it's a technology work product or an accounting work product, that
Right.
they're having to redo some of the work, and so
Yeah. Whereas if you hire the team, drive it, and manage the team, and take the accountability on yourself, then the work product is yours, right?
yeah,
Yeah.
and you know the outcome that you're getting
That's
in
right.
real time.
That's right.
All right, so let's, shift to rapid fire, if you
Okay.
will.
Gosh.
You've talked a little bit about your career journey, but what would be your first career memory?
Oh man. I would say it wouldn't be my first job. It would have been my actually my third job, but it was one of the most impactful things in my career, I think. It was a mentor that I still have today. It was a leader that I was running a technology project office for. And I remember he asked me to prepare a deck and a readout for all of our business units. And I worked for like a week on this thing
Mhm.
and kind of brought it to him. And I was so excited because I thought I just nailed it. And I think in like the first minute, he ripped it up in front of my face.
Oh.
So that really stuck with me, obviously. But what he was really teaching me was a couple of things. One
Mhm.
was get to the point. Leaders don't need volume, they need clarity. He was teaching me it's not about the work, it's about the outcome, which I talked a lot about outcomes
Right.
today. That's really stuck with me through my career. Hours and slides don't matter if the message isn't tight and it doesn't land. And show the connection between technology and the business.
Mhm.
Don't just report activity, show value, show alignment and impact.
Mhm.
And I think those core principles have just kind of stuck with me
Yeah.
throughout my throughout
Yeah.
my career.
That's great. Great tips that other people can take with them. We might have hit on this, but your worst or best boss, I think that person might have been your boss. He's stuck with you and still a mentor
Yeah,
today.
he was my best boss for sure.
Yeah.
Yeah, and sometimes my worst boss. Yeah,
There you go.
yeah,
Sometimes you can get 2 in 1.
that's right.
Okay, what is a saying that you're known for?
A saying that I'm known for. I don't know that I have one.
Oh, come on. I know your teams would say something, "Oh, that AJ always says this."
Well,
Or your kids or your wife,
I don't know that I have a phrase.
you know?
I don't think I do. Did you ask my teams?
No, but I
I would love
will.
to know what that phrase is.
I will
Yeah.
find out
Okay.
and I'll report back.
Okay. That's
All
great.
right. So what is your favorite lunch or dinner spot in Charlotte?
Ooh. Go to 131 a lot.
Yeah, I think
Yeah.
we had lunch there
Yeah, go to
recently.
131 a lot, go to Burton's a lot. Those are
Mhm.
kinda quick, easy,
Yeah, and good food.
and good food. Yeah, it's always dependable.
Yeah. Is there one location that you frequent more than another?
Well, it used to be South Park, but now
Mm.
it's Ballantyne.
Okay.
Yeah.
Recent relocation
Yeah,
there.
recent relocation.
So,
That's right.
okay. Well, AJ, it's been a pleasure speaking to you. I actually have learned a little bit more about you, even though I've known you for 15 years,
A
probably.
long
Time is
time.
creeping up on us
That's right.
through your journey at Belk, and that was fun to see. And then now your career journey at Whistler and LiftOne. So, congratulations on the recent promotion.
Thank you.
And we appreciate you joining us today.
Yeah, thanks for having me. This was great.
Yeah.